There is no plan B. This must work. That's it. Like, some people ask me, like, why do you want to deadlift like that 300-pound in that bar? Like, well, I know how to do it. I know how to train to do it. And it's very easy for me to think about, okay, that's the end goal. I know how to create a story backwards.
Welcome back, everybody. This is the Hope Axis. I'm here with Haya Odeh, who is the co-founder and design lead of Replit. I think everybody's favorite startup and everybody's favorite exponential curve. I mean, for those people who understand what an exponential curve is for a startup, you want to have what Replit has. I'm going to include Amjad's tweet in the description for this video on YouTube and in the podcast episode. I started this podcast, the Hope Axis, in July 2024. Today it's April 2025, so not so long ago. This is my 23rd episode. I started it because I was a little bit annoyed by how negative the conversation was becoming around politics, the future, the humanities. Everything is bad. Everybody thinks somebody else is bad. And somehow the hope is steadily decreasing in the world. And, I look around. I mean, my job is to talk with really smart people, to have them use our platform, make money, converse, create a community. And so from my vantage point, it just seemed insane to talk so hopelessly about things, because all I see is very productive, super smart people working their asses off to create something great. Sometimes that's a book. Sometimes that's a beautiful family. Sometimes they renovate a house. Sometimes they go on a world tour. Sometimes they build a company. Sometimes they take over the country, but that's a whole different conversation. And I was just like, I'm not buying that so many people are working so hard in this world, and not that who might not be driven by hope. I think people are more optimistic than they think. So this is kind of my little conspiracy with myself to every week, every other week to, sit down to talk with people that I deeply respect, and who I think are building great things. And just ask you guys who are giving other people hope, who are hope hubs, what keeps you going? What keeps you hoping? So Haya Odeh, welcome to the Hope Axis. You're calling in from Palo Alto. We are dressed, for those of us who are listening to us audio, I'm in this like ski sweater, and Haya is obviously in beautiful California weather. You can see we are in different time zones and different climates entirely. Thank you for bringing the summer to us. How are you doing today? And what's up at Replit?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. My brand is basically wearing muscle tanks or tank tops. So whether it's cold or not cold, I just love this outfit. Um, so how do you want to do this? Is it going to be like you're going to ask me a question and then I'm going to
I want to see where you are with Replit right now. That's my biggest question, because I feel like you're the gray eminent behind Amjad. Like, Amjad is so loud on Twitter. Everybody knows him. He has so many opinions. Some, he knows something about, some not, maybe not that much, but we love listening to him. He's a great public figure. And then as the co-founder, as his wife and mother of his children, you are kind of there just pulling the strings in the background. So I'm very curious to kind of kick off what are you doing on a day-to-day basis, and how does it build into the Replit phenomenon?
Yeah. For those who don't know, they don't know. But for those who knows, then they know. Then they really, really know. I find it interesting, like when I started this journey with Amjad, or like even before, like when we met and I helped Amjad with the open source project, and and the open source project like went viral, and Amjad started to get all of these job opportunities, and he asked me, where would you want to go? Like, I'm having all of these job opportunities, some from Seattle, some from South Africa, some from New York. And he really wanted to go to South Africa. But then I was like, what's in South Africa? No, like New York. Like, if you go to New York, everything will opens up. You wanna build like a strategy that when you want to move forward, you want the doors of the life to open for you. And this is what New York sounded to me, and felt for me. And that's how we started our journey. So I also like when we were like quote unquote dating, which I didn't like actually date Amjad like for dating like American way, but I knew him for a really long time, and we really liked each other, and we had like these coffee dates. Um and the side project kicked off, and he wanted to go to New York. Like, you're not going to New York without me, just like FYI. And he was like, what does that mean? I was like, it means that we need to get married. So many people find this like funny in a way, but also like how
That
they
you
see,
proposed to Amjad, basically.
yeah,
You
it's
just
like they
told him the
find it,
fact that we are getting
yeah, the fact, yes, like a refresher. They find it refreshing.
like
And
FYI. You don't
yes, FYI, by the way, I did not waste 4 years of my life just liking you. So we're gonna get married. You're not going to America without me. Just like putting it out there.
so that he
So
knows. I mean, he should know, right? He should know
yeah, and he was
he's
like,
getting
makes
married.
sense. Yes, makes
What did
sense.
he say? What did Amjad say?
He was like, yeah, I mean, makes sense. And maybe you should ask him. Like, I never asked him like what he was thinking, or but that was like completely logic for me. Like, of course we have to do this. Like it's like we must. So it's kind of also like like people find my personality as like a as it's like very honest, like honest and refreshing honest. And it's not that I am pretending, but this is how I talk.
Yeah, you are. But is your kind of role in your marriage to point out the obvious things to Amjad?
Yes. So
From
I
the
pointed
fact that New York
very,
is better than South Africa, or that,
yes,
you know.
very tactical,
Mhm.
very like so I'm an observer and I connect the dots. I'm really good at this thing. And it took me a while to understand what is it that I'm really, really good at. And I'm really good at um isolating scenarios and putting all my ego away and my personal away and seeing things as a third person, and as it feels like outer body experience, as I'm just watching. And from there i can um I can share observations, and from these observations, like, you bring in new like a new things to someone who didn't really see it because they were in it. And then you and I'm also like able to connect the dots, like this happened because of that, because of this, because of that, like all the whys. And they call it the clarity of thinking, and the clarity of thinking takes a while. It doesn't happen just like at once. Sometimes it takes me like 3 days, 4 days, sometimes a week, sometimes a month, so that I put my finger on it. And it comes with a natural way of thinking that I have. And I for the longest time I didn't know that I have it. And it's called slow thinking. And while most people love the pace of fast thinking and just getting things done, make like real quick decisions, um, I never felt that I'm on the pace of that. And I need to really slow down to understand what am I doing and where I'm standing. So that took me a while to understand this about myself. But now I know all of this about who I am. I see like, okay, where I was coming from with building the culture in Replit, or like how I'm helping with shaping that, or where I see gaps in things and pointing them out and trying to fix them. whether it's like in design or in UX in the product, or like in building the actual like culture in the company, or hiring, or whatever it is.
And Replit is 10 years old now, right? In 2025, you will turn 10.
So in
If
we
this is a
established
child, it would be a teenager.
totally. This is how I think about it too. So we established the company as a company in 2016. So in a year, it'll be like literally 10 years, um, but we started it like before that as a side project, and Replit has been always the um the thing that opened doors for me. My story with Replit, like Amjad has his story, how he created it. I have mine as how it opens doors for me. And um, I don't know if you want to go there, but I'm happy to go wherever you want to go.
I'd love to hear about it, because this is the second time in a couple of minutes when you say opening doors, right? How you make choices between, say, South Africa and New York City. Like, you go for increasing optionality, you go for increasing abundance, increasing freedom. And that seems to be your decision making. How does this work on a day-to-day basis? Is this part of Replit's culture as well? I mean, it's very like also like forking. So
Exactly.
right? There
Exactly.
in the core of
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Like, how do you make the best decisions that, like, like you can say, oh, in the past, I actually make a really good decision here, and I really like her. Because I do feel that that this multiverse thing, theory, or whatever it is, I think it exists. Like, I mean, sometimes I think, like, what does it look like if I didn't leave Jordan? What kind of life, or what does it look like if I did not pursue Replit? What kind of life? And then there's like the
And you
interesting
believe that
part.
they exist somewhere, like in the multiverse, like there is somewhere. I always think about it when like I catch an airplane last minute, like there's some Anna somewhere who was just like 1 second removed and stopped to like tie her shoelaces or something, and she missed this flight, and now her entire
Exactly.
timeline is derailed. How do you think about that?
Exactly. I think you're right. And it's just about making the right decisions and speed. Like now in Replit, and with all competitions that we're having, we're thinking the winner will be the fastest. Now we need to win because there's like all of this competition, and the competition is getting sharp. Like, okay, we need to be the fastest, we need to have, but the fastest doesn't mean like it needs to be a lousy product. It needs to be great product, but we need to be on top of every single thing. So how can you be on top of every single thing? Like sometimes I ask myself, and I have this Amjad, he thinks it's a cheesy poster, but I think it's amazing. So in right next to me is like, be the best version of yourself. I remind myself. So just to be like really great at everything as much as possible, with like being a great mom, being a great wife, being a great manager, being a great like um person, just like taking care of others, taking care of myself. But it also starts with myself. I need to control my health, my mental like health and stability, so I can take care of others. Um, so my day to day basically looks like I have to work out on the morning, and I am like a really active person. And I also very open about mental health, how much it's important. Like people need to have coaches, have a kind of a form journaling, like writing, just be clear with you where you at mentally, so you can so you can be really good at what you do, not just like being frustrated or having anxiety without understanding why you have an anxiety. um so that helps with the slow thinking. Like Like I'm a really I'm a slow thinker that sometimes I think like things go in a slow motion in the world. Um, and then based on that, like I try to study decisions and I'm like, is that, and then questioning, is that the right way that we want to go? And are we sure? So I'm always like a reminder. Um,
And how do you test? Like, do you like at Interintellect, we like to like red team ideas? Like, what would be the worst possible scenario to like come out of this? Or what if we just change one component here? Would that change the whole thing? Like, you know, you can throw various mental model exercises on these decisions. Do you have a preferred? I mean, I really like the one that you're doing with the increasing of optionality. I think
yeah.
people and this is kind of a Peter Thiel thing as well, right? Like it's not what you want is not to have constantly the same amount of options because it freezes people into very undecided lives, very, lives that always hover between different professions, different commitments, and never really, really committing. But really increasing optionality is understanding which are the commitments that I can make that will open the doors.
Yeah.
But it's not a constant state. It's like a flex. Like Amjad writes so beautifully in his very famous 2016 Kierkegaard and Hegel article that you guys brought to Interintellect. And there was this wonderful Interintellect salon where you both came and talked about this. That is not, it's more like a dialectical process where you go close, open. And what you
Yeah.
want is basically to constantly arrive to like resting points that are determined and committed and singular, but from which
Yeah.
many options come.
Exactly.
That's not the same as I think in the West you have. I mean, I'm also an immigrant into the West, so I see it a little bit in a detached way. I think that's an immigrant superpower to see it as from the outside a little bit. That there is this, you can put yourself into this millennial bland, everybody is everything and nothing at the same time state, but
Yeah.
ultimately that brings less happiness, right? Because it just simply brings less results. I mean, it's in some ways it's the results that make us happy, or like clear states. That can be a clear state of rest. You know, it doesn't or ongoing love. That's fine. It doesn't have to be a finite result, but it's the tangible things and the certain things that make us really happy as people. So I'm so interested in how this optionality works and whether whether sometimes Amjad is the red team or you're the red team, or do you guys have that? You're smiling. Do you have that game sometimes?
What is the red team means? I
Red team
think I
is
don't.
like you have an idea and you ask part of your team to be the red team who like
Okay.
mock attack you. So say
Okay.
if you're a lawyer and you're putting together a case, then you ask
Okay.
two of your fellow attorneys to play the prosecutors and red team your idea. They want to
Yeah.
create like a safe environment where you can
Right.
viciously attack your own idea and see if
Right.
remains of it.
Yeah, like debating and so yes, we have this actually in our culture, we call it debate and commit. So yeah,
It's a little bit like in Amazon, the disagree and commit.
probably, but
That's even
I didn't
better.
even know. Yeah, I didn't even know that Amazon
That's
had that like
amazing. Say more. Say
oh,
more. How does it work? Debate and commit
yeah.
affected.
So debate and commit. If you have a conviction like about an idea, like you really, really believe in this idea, debate it. Like even if you against all the company's like decision, like just go and create a case for it. Whatever that case look like, whatever like your power allows you to debate. Like sometimes, as a designer, I find it challenging to debate with engineers speaking their language. So for me to let them see what I see, I double down on my superpower, which is speaking to users. I need to let them see where I'm coming from with like people won't understand the XYZ, or people won't be able to use this thing because XYZ. So showing them that outcome, make them see through my lens where I'm coming from. And this is really important, like just in general with a diversity of opinions, because if everyone is like thinking alike, then, I'm not sure if this is the best way to design a very special product that works for everyone. It needs to have that kind of diversity of all of the people who are thinking in a different ways, and then coming in a solution that works for everyone. And that kind of goes like to your idea or like the concept of like close and open. Because if it's like stay like a close within a certain mindset and a certain way, then it only speaks to certain way of thinking. Like if developers want to design the products of how developers think, then it will be only accessible for developers. It won't be accessible for all people. So the way of debating, it could be through conversations if you're really good at it. I'm not really good at real life conversations, debates. I'm like, let me get back to you tomorrow with an email. And then two,
Don't worry. We'll do like a little dubbing, like just a different voice sometimes jumps in to like overspeak. No, we won't do that.
or you can debate with a prototype. Like you just like put what you're thinking in a prototype, and like everyone will be amazed on, oh, now we understand where's this person coming from. Or like someone like me, it could be like your research or user feedback, etc.
Was there a feature that you were very passionate about and you lost the debate?
No.
You?
It would be stuck in my head if I said yes, but most of the time I would say I'm right. I
You
nothing
win
that
the
comes.
debate. Because you
What's
choose
that?
your debates well, right? You are
Or
a thinker, so by the time you go into battle, it is really well thought out.
or sometimes what happened that we ship it, like I would say, okay, like this is something that I don't feel strongly about. We test it. And then after we test it, like, okay, like there you go. Like I was right. So
I love it. So Amjad, of course, very, very famously talks a lot about entrepreneurship and running a startup. And, he is the role model for so many young developers. You guys, through Replit, change so many lives, give so much optionality to other people. I changed my godson's life when at 14 they came to me and they were like, no, okay, so this whole thing started because I wanted to buy them MacBooks. And they basically told me to go and like put the MacBooks up my butt because they want Linuxes because they're real developers now at 14. And I was like, I'm sorry, I apologize. And then I was like, so are you on Replit? And they didn't know what Replit was. They are in Budapest. And now they are. And they are just like, they are 16 now and it changed their lives. It's crazy. And so it's just so, amazing to see that. But we rarely hear from you and what entrepreneurship means to you. And I know from our salon and our personal conversations in San Francisco that you do have an as beautiful kind of idea maze about what entrepreneurial lives, mean to you as Amjad does. So if you want to share a little bit about it, and especially now that you're such a successful co-founder, you are a mom of 2 children, you're a manager, you're an artist, you are so many things. What has been this kind of entrepreneurial ideal for you in your life? And did you end up as an entrepreneur because of the ideal, or did you develop the ideal because you became an entrepreneur?
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. I can share some context. I did not understand what is an entrepreneur is. I didn't even know what is that. Um, I come from background and like the way that my family operates in the world is like you need to play it safe, go for safe jobs, get paid, climb the ladder, like a very, very safe. But while it's so even like the way that Jordan or where I was raised operates, there isn't any startups. Like startups is not a thing. Like the startup is like basically maybe you need to just open a bodega or I don't know, or a
Nail
bakery.
salon. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that, like something cute, like gas station. Like who wants to open like a company? There's nothing called a startup, right?
It's similar in
Um,
Europe as well. It's like small businesses, like have a noble,
right,
little provincial small business, be very logical
right.
to your neighbors. Everybody has to understand exactly
Yeah,
what to do, otherwise you're scary.
yes, yes. Like if you want to apply to a company, you go to apply for like a big company, like telecom company or I don't know, medicine, something like that. So I've uh, I've observed my father who worked in different jobs, who was like a manager in HR company in the UAE, Abu Dhabi, like for oil, and then he when we lived in Jordan after the Gulf War happened, he transitioned to a professor in college to teach about HR and finance and management and stuff like that. But as his personality, he always conflict with people. So that's my father's side. My mother's side, she's very good at what she does. She tinkers around. She keeps trying and trying and trying till she earns mastery in stuff. And she has a very long breath and very what's the word for it? She's like very competitive too, but low key. Like no one would know like she's competitive. Um, so as you can see, I'm both of those characters and personnel traits, and it was very difficult for me to keep a job. I just like I can't I I earn mastery real quickly. I get bored and I hate repetitive jobs and like the jobs to be done in a job, which is like literally do the same thing every single day. I was like, this can be automated, but I didn't know that it's called automated. And I always clash with my manager because I'm like, I don't agree with them. So I always get fired. Even from free jobs that I apply to just to earn like skills, they're like, we don't need you here, troublemaker." So so it was definitely
That's why you
like
you guys build this beautiful platform for children. You understand troublemakers, right?
so troublemaking is definitely in my blood and Amjad's blood and competitiveness and and I didn't like I I knew that I have those traits, but I didn't know that what makes a really good entrepreneur. So when it came to Replit, and Replit was already a side project for me, and I take it very seriously. I'm like, we have to make this work. Like this have to work. There's no plan B. This must work. That's it. Like some people ask me, like, why do you want to deadlift like that 300 pound bar? Like, well, I know how to do it. I know how to train to do it. And it's very easy for me to think about, okay, that's the end goal.
You
I know how to create a story backwards.
know?
which is like going back to connecting dots and creating stories and journeys and stuff like that.
I'm like that
So,
too. I always say like I first jump off the cliff and then I get scared. Most
exactly.
people first get scared and cry and have anxiety. I have something in my mind that I can switch off so I can do it. And then I get really scared, right?
Totally.
And it's so interesting because I also, but like I worked on the General Magic movie many years ago before Interintellect, and Tony Fadell gives an interview in it, and I was cutting the interview, doing something with it, and he says this thing like the main role in entrepreneurship is have no plan B, because it's going to be so hard that if there is a plan B, you're not going to do it, right? It's like when you have a child, there is no plan B. You fully commit to it. And you trust yourself that in the depth of suffering, somehow you will figure it out because you have to. And so to me, that's so interesting. But also that how many entrepreneurs go, and by entrepreneur, I mean also people whose enterprise is to emigrate or to start a family, like whatever superhuman thing you're undertaking, it very often follows this moment of clarity when you turn something that you always thought was a negative about you, whether that's clashing with your managers or people being very introverted or very extroverted or very slow or very fast. Like it was the same for me. Like I always thought that I have to like live despite all these qualities I had for the first 30 years of my life. And then for me, it was history in 2016 that made me sit down and think, okay, what if this is a moment in time when what I think about myself, nobody gives a shit. Like nobody's like personal anxieties matter. Because like this moment requires people to not just be their best selves, but to be more than themselves in some sense. And you look at yourself with this complete detachment, right? People report from religious experience or meditation or psychedelic practices that you can have this bird's eye view of yourself. And suddenly, without judgment, you look at your existing characteristics that you cannot change. That's you. And say, if I wanted, as a manager, if I wanted to allocate this bundle of characteristics that is a human, what would be the best use for this person? And what an entrepreneur does is you develop this intuition that my utility would be best if I was doing X, because I'm good at this. And then you start iterating until it fully locks. There's a kind of product market fit for people as well. And that's the amount of, and I think the reason why entrepreneurs can do the hard job of entrepreneurship is because even if it's hard, it's still 1,000 times easier than trying to be a person you're not.
Right. Totally. Like when we had offers of acquisitions, right? Like the first one was from Facebook. Before we actually like made Replit as a company, like bring Replit to Facebook and bring Haya, and we're happy to have you here. And I was like, no, because they're gonna kill it. Like this is defeats the whole point. Like Replit has a potential. And sometimes I think like, what would it look like? Because my dream job was Facebook. I wanted to join Facebook in 2016. But once that checkbox was done, I was like, as this deadlift was done, I was like, done. I'm happy. Let's move to the next chapter. Okay. And then similarly, when we kept having these offers, you simulate these scenarios. Do I want to work at that company? Like, do I actually want to work at that company? And the answer is always no. And no for many reasons. Like, no, because I really dislike it when I'm not engaged in that decision making, or maybe I disagree, or like the same traits that I've always had. Like very difficult to manage. Someone is very difficult to manage. Someone who just like want to have the autonomy and put my hands in the work. Yeah.
You were born to manage people. It's so counterintuitive. I think very few people are born maybe Bruce Springsteen, the boss, right? But most people think that, oh, I have to learn, I have to be an apprentice, I need mentoring. And, so often it's just like you push yourself out to the precipice and there you will figure it out. And, we know this theoretically, we know this from literature, we know this from movies, the hero's journey, but it's different to know it in the story of somebody else and to recognize these kind of mythological moments in your own life, right? When you are kind of called to action, literally.
Yeah, I wanna comment on a couple of things that you said is very interesting. It's like one, when it's too hard, like what do you do? And many people ask me about this question. And it's like you keep going. Like that's called life. Like you think life is easy, just generally speaking, like, oh, I wanna like, like I wanna just go on my life, have fun and travel and like the fact that life is not easy. It is actually difficult. And the moments of fun, they're fun and then they're small, but it's the nature of the game that you suffer, 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 you then like celebrate, and then you suffer, suffer again, and then you celebrate again. And I
And
find
winning
it
means that you
interesting.
can work more, right? When people are celebrating like fundraising, like congratulations on raising money. Yeah, but raising money
Exactly.
is not like a retirement plan. It just means that you can work even more now, which is great. Like you want to do it, but it's not. I think people don't always understand this about entrepreneurs, that this is not like it's really an infinite game. Like winning means you can play more.
Exactly. I'm a big fan of Maroon 5, Adam Levine, and I recently went to a show of Maroon 5, and he took like a 10 minutes just like speech, and what he was saying was exactly that. He was like, it took us so much to actually people believe in us. But once like you become on the top, you have to stay in the top, and staying in the top is the hardest part. As it felt like in different discipline, in creation and creative, it's the same. Like once you're in top, you gotta keep it up. You gotta up level a game. You gotta and like in startup mode, like it will continue. Like, how do you want to growth, or just like like a revenue or whatever, and then like you IPO, right? And then like an IPO, oh, like congratulations, you made it. No, it's a different game now. It's not like like you made it
You
in
just
startup.
went to a different level in the game. You have not
Exactly.
won the game.
Yes.
They say
Yes.
only Elon has won the game.
Yeah. Um, and then there was another thing that you mentioned, which is like, I need mentoring, I need help. And it's in as an entrepreneur or a startup, you learn on the go, like you learn while you're doing. And that what makes it so special. And you learn so much about yourself. There's, people ask, why do I need to work on a startup? Because, which is a question I always ask myself, what else did I miss out on in life? Like I'm in my 30s and I still question, if I was born in a different place or in a different, circumstances, would I have been an astronaut? I don't know, maybe. Like I love space. I'm really good athlete. I'm good at science. Maybe I could have been in, yeah, maybe. So working in a startup, coming from humble backgrounds and going to graphic and art school, how could I've known that I'm really good at theories or user journeys or UX or user interviews or research, or the only way for me was to know all of that and learn it is by being exposed to all of these things and learn about myself. Is this is something that I enjoy and double down on? Um, And that goes to the 80-20% rule, right? Like there's so much things that you can be good at certain things, but you really need to learn these extra stuff to make you well-rounded or better with these stuff. Like similarly when you train or work out, like there's so much that you can deadlift or squat, but then sometimes you need to step back and work it out in other ways so that you can up level your game in different aspects or areas, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And it makes me think about how if you don't know what you're good at, try a lot of things and you will know, because it really feels like product market fit, right? First of all, when you start doing the thing that you're good at, you will become extraordinarily good at it very fast, right?
Totally.
So you find something you're good at, and like Forrest Gump finds that he can run, right?
So
In a few months, you will become the best runner in the world,
right.
right? And it's going to give you a specific kind of pleasure of accomplishment because you're doing
Mhm.
something that the world is accepting from you and allows you to do and kind of like encourages you to do, right? If you do something that you keep not getting better at, it's either you chose something that's really extraordinarily difficult, in which case, of course, the timelines differ, right? And there are things where you need decades to become, good. But there is this kind of reinforcement loop that kicks in when you have found, But and then I think a lot of entrepreneurs become a little bit shocked about how easy it is to become one of the best in the world at something. Like I
Yeah.
remember doing my visa application 1.5 years ago when I was coming to the US, and I'm on the extraordinary ability visa, and that was the first time when I sat down and I realized like, oh my God, I'm actually one of the best people in the world at what I do. Like objectively, this is not me being
Yeah.
pretentious. It's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it clicked. I do a very specific combination of things. Nobody does this because I have this weird background and I have these unrealistically contradictory, weird skills. I found one way in which that's a positive, and I've done that a million times since then.
Mhm.
And since like the last 300,000 times, it's been like top level in the world. And it's
Mhm.
also
Mhm.
kind of it's just so humbling as well, right? Like I think skills are very humbling because also like the more skill you have, the more service you owe to the world,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Like if you're really the best at something, you can't just retire, right? Like now you have this responsibility towards society. So it's like, I don't know, maybe not as clear about it as you are, but this is something that we experience as leaders, right? It's just beautiful.
Yeah. And even like people who um like try to learn something, but maybe that's not yet their niche, that knowledge never will go wrong. It's always in their back pocket. Like sometimes I think, you know, like, oh, I went for 2 years in my life for interior and architecture. Like, was that a waste of time or not? But no, with like every information that you learn, you go through in your life, it comes in handy in a way or other. Like it's fascinating, like Steve Jobs when he went for that like one course, like for typography. That what made Apple like super special when he gets so obsessed with typography, and it's just like one class. Um, yeah, like and sometimes I feel that different knowledge clicks differently, as in, you know, I learn a lot about myself as what kind of designer I am, what kind of art I'm more interested in and like to practice, and it's impressionism. I was never good at real stuff. Like that's why they didn't do very well in architecture, because it's all perspectives and real stuff. And it was too real for me. All I wanted to do is be impressionist and do things that are not real. Like my imagination, I can't even explain it. So I just want to do random things. And this is where I excelled. So just tying the dots even more, that's what makes Replit special, because we imagine different things and different world and different future, and this is how we want to connect the dots together. It would be boring if it was like all about reality, like we need to fix this problem that exists now, like no.
I love it. And every startup is an artistic project. And you guys actually are half artists, I mean, Amjad is also an artist, but you see what I mean? Like when it comes to the founding team, this really, really matters. And I really love that. I really love this idea. As we're wrapping up and kind of like ending the podcast, I just want to talk to you a little bit about history and hear your thoughts about it. Because, Amjad and you have had your own encounters in your life with war, with displacement, with having to move with your family or by yourself in times when things didn't look that good for risk takers, for artists, for entrepreneurs, for people who wanted to change the world with their ideas, because everybody was in safety mode. Everybody was fleeing, protecting inward. And you guys went outside, you opened doors, you increased optionality and helped other people do that. So if you have any advice for maybe up and coming entrepreneurs or just entrepreneurs today, builders struggling what to do in a very intense political environment, you're in a moment when we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow with the economy, with geopolitics, what is a good mindset for builders when they are facing history?
Well, that's a deep one. I'm just like thinking. Can you hear Amjad? He's in the other room. Okay, sorry. um, so there will be always this challenges in the world, that I feel that sometimes it feels helpless and hopeless. Like what can I do about it, right? So there are two options. One, you don't do anything and you can stay helpless and hopeless. Or two, you can just like make yourself better and continue to have hope and change it. So it became really clear to me one day when I lived in New York that I have to be the second. I have to. Like, I have enough privilege to be that and not to be the first one. Like, I have the privilege that I immigrated to New York. I live here. I have the skills and I have the knowledge, and I need to become the best of myself to help others, because I was watching my family and my people are suffering every day on social media. But I couldn't just like lay back and like let my energy get depleted and do nothing about it. This is not a good use of my energy for my people. And then I thought, like, my cousins can't find a job. My people, like, it feels so helpless. So I can't have a job now. I'm in New York too. I just can't have a job. But I really believe in this thing that will open up doors. And it's, as you said, like my responsibility to do something about it. So,
I mean, if you remember when Interintellect added, because Interintellect was my side project, right? And I don't know if you remember that, I was building a completely different thing with a similar purpose. And then when Interintellect became the main company and the main product, exactly the same thing. I think you and I had this conversation, I don't know, like 6 years ago, that you have to build something that helps other people make money or learn something. Because if you know what it means to be a newcomer in a new place with nobody and nothing, just 2 hands and your brain and your mouth, then
Mhm.
you have a kind of God-given duty to help
Right,
others get started as well. And your platform
right,
needs to be in some ways a creative platform.
exactly. So teach a man how to fish, because you can you can create like campaigns of give money or give food, but this is not sustainable. And I think like the more that people can influence and be influencers with positive energy of like, why is this important? Because when you have children, you want to create a better world for them, not for you, because you'll be gone and you know that. But you just want them to live in a better world and have an impact on that world that, hey, like this is gonna be good for you and for others, and hoping that this legacy will carry on. Yeah.
Hi,
This
Oda.
is
You are my favorite. You are brilliant and so wise. And I love this note to end on that basically the best thing you can do with hardship is to help ensure that other people don't go through it.
exactly.
This is
Yeah.
all we can do for each other.
Yeah.
Before I start crying, we will wrap up. I knew this would happen
I'm
when you
sorry.
I knew this would happen if you come on. I'm such a huge Replit fan. I can hear Amjad in the other room say hi from me.
Will do.
Amjad is an investor in Interintellect, so we are like overlapping in all sorts of beautiful ways. This really was a hope axis. Thank you for bringing us that beautiful sentiment. And people, go on Replit, right? If you're listening to us, if you're watching
Yes.
us, get your ass on Replit. What are you doing?
Yes, please. And if you need discount, just say that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening, watching us, Haya. You're the best.